Enormous seagoing vessels like this one are often docked at the port of Pensacola. The so-called flotel, or hotel on the water, is a supply ship that takes on big projects related to oil and gas industry work. That industry is growing in the Gulf, and Pensacola is in a prime location to take advantage of it.
The deep water drilling is going more towards the central Gulf, and Pensacola just kind of lines up with that. But people don't realize how easy Pensacola is to get in and out of. When you compare it to Mobile, it's like a 1 to 2 hour trip to get into Pensacola, where it's a 4 to 6 hour trip to get into facilities in Mobile. So, that was one of the selling points.
Buddy McCormick is vice president of Offshore Inland, a company that provides maintenance and engineering services to ships working offshore in the Gulf of Mexico. They signed a 15-year lease with the port in 2010, expecting to invest millions at the facility. The company provides around 100 good-paying jobs related to shipyard work.
We have some guys that actually ride their bikes to work, and they can make $20, $25 an hour. I mean, we're blue collar, get your hands dirty, but get paid well. When the ships are in, we work a lot of overtime, and we have great benefits, and we're a diverse company. Almost 40% of our workforce are minorities.
Offshore Inland is now in the process of negotiating a 30-year lease for another warehouse. If that goes through, along with a related project, the port could see at least 200 more jobs and millions more investment dollars. A busy port isn't only good for Offshore Inland. The crews who live and work aboard these vessels have time and money to spend when they're here.
But they're making $20 and $25 an hour, not $8 and $10 an hour, so they've got money to spend. And they're typically young, they're blue collar, and they like to go to restaurants and have fun. So I think they love Pensacola. They love the entertainment district. I mean, once I get a vessel to come here and they see the quality of life we have, the clean environment, it's not hard to get them to come back.
Downtown is another bright spot for Pensacola. It has become a popular shopping and entertainment district thanks to a lot of new business growth, including the Maritime Park. Patrick Elabash of Elabash Jewelry Company on Palafox is excited about the growth. He's the 4th generation of his family to work in the namesake jewelry store.
The biggest difference, I think, is the traffic every single day of the week now. I mean, we used to have slower days, like Saturdays used to be a quieter day for us, and that's no longer the case. Saturday is one of our best days, and I think that's a change for the positive of downtown.
Patrick has worked at the downtown business for 9 years and watched many of those changes unfold.
I would say the occupancy of all the storefronts. I mean, you used to see a lot of empty buildings. You don't see a whole lot of that anymore. You see a lot of construction, people renovating and so forth, but downtown's pretty full.
Full with not only new businesses and plenty of locals to patronize them, but tourists as well.
Well, you have a whole lot of stuff in a small area. Everything from the historic district to AA baseball to fantastic local restaurants, all in one little small area.
Pensacola's historic district is another draw with potential to capitalize on cultural heritage tourism, a burgeoning industry. With 450 years of history and culture to share, places like Pensacola's historic village are an even bigger draw to tourists who are particularly interested in the past. The UWF Historic Trust manages 29 historic sites in the two-county area. In fact, 2 UWF professors developed an app that will not only raise the area's profile in cultural heritage tourism, but also allow users to download sites targeted to their specific interests. Not far from the historic district is the Pensacola Mess Hall, a hands-on science museum. Director Megan Pratt developed it out of her own love of science. She hopes these messy demonstrations and projects will help children enrich their education and develop their own appreciation for science. After more than 2.5 years, the mess hall is becoming a destination stop for locals and visitors.
Sometimes they'll come in because big sister's at ballet or children's chorus and they want to have something to do with the little kids during their class. But they come in and are exploring, and we also have a lot of tourists. It's about 35% of our visitor groups have at least someone from out of town.
While much of downtown has been geared for adults, Pratt says a family-friendly place like the Mess Hall helps round out what Pensacola has to offer.
It's a great thing for particularly the older kids who aren't necessarily finding things to do. We get calls all the time from people, well, what else would be good for a 10-year-old on a vacation here or something like that? And there's a limited options. And it's also part of making this a more technology-oriented community to encourage people to think about science careers.
From science projects to port projects, downtown Pensacola is a great example of how our area can make the most of our strengths. Buddy McCormick says there's no reason their niche market with the oil and gas industry shouldn't continue to grow.
Well, I think as long as we do our job and keep the customers happy and get the vessels out on time, that this market will grow. It's got all that attributes lined up to be a real positive thing for our industry.
Promising signs that could prove to be the next chapter in our success story.